We had 13 cases in New South Wales. 3 of those were from overseas travellers. 1 was from someone who was returning from Victoria. So 4 out of those cases are either overseas or a returning traveller from Victoria. So again, can I reinforce the message we gave the community yesterday is for all of us to be on extra high alert, all of us to be on extra COVID safe, to appreciate that when we're in certain environments that we should be wearing a mask if we can't maintain social distancing, and for all of us to appreciate that the next few weeks are absolutely critical for New South Wales. But I want to in particular thank not only our health professionals and our police and all the state government agencies that are working hard to make all of us COVID safe and to keep our jobs going in New South Wales, but I also in particular, as it's Education Week, wanted to thank our education community. Principals, teachers, students and school communities, parents have been just outstanding in supporting our school system during COVID. Whenever there's been a case in a school, everyone's moved into quick action to keep everybody safe, and the fact that students are now able to continue their learning with a face-to-face environment is a real credit to everybody across the state, be it through our public school system but also obviously through our non-government schools as well. So I just wanted to, especially in Education Week, learning together is the theme for this year, and most appropriate because we are all in this together, and learning together is a wonderful way in which we can support our students during a difficult time. But we also have to appreciate that whilst we're focused on keeping each other safe during the pandemic and keeping everything as normal as it can be, that we also as a government need to have a keen eye on the future. Many of the students standing around here will be applying for jobs or furthering their study in a couple of years' time. And so today I'm very pleased to announce that Seven Hills will be one of 2 high schools throughout the state to have a purpose-built facility which will allow them to receive vocational education and training whilst they're still at high school. And I know for the local member Mark Taylor this is a huge boost. In his community, people or students want to go have the option of going to university or going to a TAFE or a vocational education training hub, or else going directly into the workforce. And this purpose-built facility will allow students at Seven Hills to have that option, to get that special training, to earn credit for a qualification when they leave school, but also to give them the skills which might allow them to get direct employment if that's what their focus is. So it's really important for us in Education Week to highlight the difficult circumstances in which students today are learning compared to how some of us would have learned. And I want all students and all school communities to know that we're onto the job of making sure we make education as accessible and as optimistic as we can for the future, because the options for young people at the moment are not as great as we'd like them to be. We know a lot of young people are unemployed, a lot of young people can't get their foot into the career paths they would otherwise want. And therefore it's important for us to build for that future so that once we come out of COVID, all young people will have the chance to re-enter the workforce and start their careers in whichever field that they choose to do so. I'll ask Minister Lee now, as the Minister for TAFE and Vocational Education and Tertiary, to outline the details of what we're doing, and then the local member, Mr Taylor, to say a few words, and then I'll be happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Premier. There's no better way to start Education Week than this wonderful announcement of Seven Hills being the new generation vocational high school. We already have performing arts high schools, we have sports high schools, but Seven Hills will become the next generation in vocational high schools. Can I say that already we know that lots of people go to university, but university is not the right path for every single student. We know we must give students the opportunity to choose VET as an equal and alternate career choice that leads to great jobs and rewarding careers. So it's a great news today. We're announcing the commitment here at Seven Hills High School. It's about a new generation vocational school, which means we'll be changing the curriculum to make sure that students are able to do their VET training whilst they're doing their normal academic studies. It'll allow dual accreditation. It'll allow students to gain their HSC, but also gain accreditation towards VET courses, which will give them either a certificate or statement of attainment, which will lead them into further education so they can actually get credit for it. It'll allow us to work and the school to work with industry, so we'll be guided by industry experts and the jobs of the future. So we'll be teaching them real world skills, and this will make our students job ready. They'll be able to learn and earn when they get their school-based apprenticeships. We want to encourage students to have those options in terms of school-based apprenticeships. The three sectors that we'll be focusing on will be community and personal and health care. The second one will be construction industry, things like becoming an electrician or a plumber. And the third one will be transport and logistics. We know these are the industries that have critical shortages at the moment, and we know the jobs of the future will be in those areas. So it's great to be here, start of Education Week with the good member for Seven Hills, Mark Taylor. It's a wonderful opportunity. This is a wonderful school. It has the space. We'll be looking at how we can best deliver those courses starting at 2023. Mark.
Well, thank you, Minister, and thank you, Premier, for coming out to Seven Hills today. As a local member, it makes me very, very proud to know that there's a game changer taking place right here in the heart of Seven Hills. A game changer not only for Seven Hills, the surrounding suburbs, but the whole of Western Sydney. Today we see the students going to this school will be learning those subjects, gaining those skills and knowledge to get them jobs in places like the Western Sydney Airport, at Blacktown Hospital, Westmead Hospital, retail at Penrith, transport and logistics at Wetherill Park, right across Western Sydney. You'll be able to come to Seven Hills High, gain the skills and knowledge to get a great job and have a great career. Look, as a parent who's got teenage kids, one of the main things you worry about every day is the education marrying up with the industry needs of tomorrow? Today, this government shows that's exactly what we're doing. Fantastic work by Seven Hills.
Well, it's the rate's been steady in the last few days and the last week, but of course it's always a cause of concern when you do have those rates of community transmission, and that's why we've been saying for some weeks now that New South Wales is on high alert. We're taking health advice, but also making sure there isn't anything else further we can do to reduce the risk. We know where those high-risk areas are, we know what they are. But I want to thank everybody to date for not only following the health advice, but also for going that extra mile where appropriate to keep everybody safe.
There were those flights coming in from Melbourne today and throughout the rest of the week. Are you considering tougher measures such as forced hotel quarantine for those people arriving from hotspots?
Look, I do want to assure the community that already we have health officials waiting for those flights. Many of those people are New South Wales residents returning home. There are various checks in place, and if we need to do more, of course we will. We are every day considering all of our options in terms of what we need to do to keep the community safe, and can I assure everybody of that? As I said yesterday, and I've been saying for weeks, the health advice is always evolving. We respond according to what is going on in our state, what we foresee might happen if we don't take certain action, and we're always on our toes about what we need to do to keep things as tight as possible. Having said that, I do want to say that no border is impenetrable, and we've seen that numerous examples across the nation. No border is impenetrable, no matter how tough we are. There's always, so long as the virus is in and around us in Australia, there is a risk to New South Wales, and our geographic proximity to Victoria makes us the first line of having that seeding, and that's why we need to be extra careful, extra cautious, which we are. But having said that, we need to assume that every time we go out into the community that people in and around us have the virus. That's the way we need to act, and that's what we need to remember.
Following your advice yesterday from you about masks, it anecdotally seems that people are heeding the advice. There seems to be a bit of an uptake on public transport this morning, for example. Still probably 50% of people choosing not to wear masks when they're on trains and buses. What do you say to those people?
Well, look, I think we only announced our updated advice on masks yesterday, and I'm very pleased with the response. I went grocery shopping last night and had my mask on, and so did a lot of other people. And I think in the next coming days and weeks, we will see that trend continue. We will see people take up the opportunity, and we also appreciate that we're providing very specific advice. And I trust the vast majority of people in our state to do the right thing. They know when they're going into a high-risk venue, they know when they might be exposed to social distancing, and they also appreciate whether there have been active cases in their community, which would make